Let's go back to your start. You mentioned 5 years old and karting. How in the world does a 5-year-old start karting?
Um, because I was so open to racing, um, I was constantly asking. I think my parents say since I was like four, but I don't quite remember exactly how it started or when it started. But I remember asking them for a go-kart for as long as I can remember. And they say it was four, but I didn't end up getting to drive until late when I was five. And for my sixth birthday, they bought me a go-kart. And then I started racing go-karts when I was six. And when I was five, is all testing and seeing if I liked it, which I loved it. Um, and yeah, they would try to get me to do all these other things, play normal sports and soccer and baseball. So I did all that stuff, football, but I just none of it could. I was never interested, and I'd never wanted to go to practice during the week and stuff. And on the weekends, I would much rather be going and testing or racing my go kart rather than having to play a soccer game or a football game or something like that.
So the other stuff that was occurring was just a distraction from what you really wanted to do.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm
I
hearing.
think my parents were like normal parents, right? They wanted to see what I really liked in life and what I wanted to do, and wanted to see like do relatively normal activities, but it was never interesting to me. So I think by the time I was maybe 10 or 11, maybe 12, I stopped doing everything completely and just was racing, and that's what I really wanted to do.
Well, and not only racing, but racing in Europe. I mean, making
Mhm.
that kind of commitment at what, 10, 12 years old, all of a sudden you were pursuing a path that you were all in on doing this.
Yeah, so I was 14 at that point. And that's when I moved to racing cars when I was about 12. So I raced go-karts from 6 to around 12 or 13, and started racing in a skip barber series, which a lot of guys go through um, over here in the US. And that's kind of like your first step into racing cars. I did that in a series called Pacific F1600. So Formula Ford racing. And then at 14, I did a little bit of USF 2000, which is the bottom ring of the IndyCar program. So USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, Indy Lights, and then IndyCar, in that order. And then when I was 14, I moved over to England, and I was racing over there when I was 14, 15, and 16, and got to race against a lot of cool guys. I got to race with George Russell, Lando Norris, and a handful of other names that aren't as recognized, but are still professional drivers in GT racing or Le Mans style racing.
At that point, did you have a handle on the fact that you were definitely working the rungs of racing, that this is exactly what you want to do? In fact, you were too young to go into British F3
Right.
series, right? So you actually had to switch off and go into Euro Formula Open Championships. But did you have a feel for the fact that you were working the rungs of that ladder?
Yeah, and I knew that what my ultimate goal was, right? It was still to get to IndyCar at that point. And so yeah, it was full focus for me to get there. And at that point too, it's not clear on if you're going to make it or not until you really get up to Indy Lights or Formula 2 and you're doing well, either to get into F1 or IndyCar. So it was unclear. I knew I wanted to do it, but it was unclear on if it was for sure going to happen or not. But I was getting results, and it was all going well. And so part of me thought it was only a matter of time till I could get there.